You are not confused, you are just avoiding this truth. Your higher self, your soul, your deepest essence wants to send you this message. There's something that is unsettling within you. You know what it is. It keeps you up at night. It gets you when you least expect it. There's something that feels uneasy. And there's something that your soul wants you to look at. And this is the shadow. The shadow that's been running your life. This is the very shadow that when you click on this video, it cannot be denied anymore. It wants you to take a look at where in your life that you have been continually running, hiding, numbing, distracting yourself from facing this shadow. This can be the deepest trauma that you know that you need to face in order for you to attract healthy relationships. This can be the deepest wound when it comes to self-worth, self-value that you know that you need to clear in order for you to attract the wealth, the money, the material success that you know you came here to attract. There's a deep visibility wound that you know that you must look at. And it's linked back to that incident, that circumstance, that person. It's so hard, it's so painful that you don't want to look at it, but you know that this is precisely the time that you're meant to step into your leadership, your impact, your soul purpose, your divine work. The new earth consciousness is becoming louder and speaking to you louder than ever. The new earth consciousness requires a different way of operating, and that is spirit-led. Knowing that when you come home to your truth is spirit, is the God essence, is beyond what you see, is beyond what you hear, is beyond what the outer world tells you. Because deep in you, you already know that there's only the inner world that's real. And it is the inner world that produces out and projects out into this holographic world. So that unsuccessful circumstances, the people that you keep on attracting, that are triggering, that are unhealthy, that are toxic, the friendships that never stay, that never see you, the money that comes but leaves just as fast. And it all comes down to that deep core wound within you that you know the longer you avoid it, the louder it will speak. And it doesn't speak, through this channel message only, that is in a nice way, but it speaks in how you sabotage yourself when you finally find the one, how you sabotage yourself when you finally have that success in your career, in your money, in whatever lifestyle. You manifest that, you manifest crazy circumstances for that thing, that person to slip away. And this is a sign that you can no longer be asleep to the unconscious mind that is running the world. The deeper part within you knows that it is time for you to take a look at what is real, what is available. I feel like, is someone ringing the doorbell? Hold on. I love how that is a message in and of itself, that yes, there was someone at the door ringing the doorbell, which I honestly didn't hear because I was really into channeling this message for you. And that's another message in and of itself, that there could be a knock on the door. There's someone literally at your door. There could be signs, but you're just not seeing it. You're not seeing it, you're not hearing it, you're refusing to acknowledge it because sometimes it's unconscious. It's because there's something in you that feels like you're not ready. But when you're receiving this message, it's here, it's ready, it's available for you to look at. And most of the time, it's not scary. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's not as scary as it seems. Because the truth about the soul work is that your soul, it doesn't want comfort. It wants evolution. It wants expansion. It wants to come home into wholeness and truth. Only the ego wants comfort. And the comfort doesn't mean that it's good for you, right? The comfort of being in a certain relationship, friendship, way of living, way of being, that job, yeah, it's comfortable because you know what you're going to get paid. It's comfortable because you know that person for the past 5 years or 10 years. It's comfortable because you're already in relations with them. But that doesn't mean that it's true. You know, it doesn't mean that there are things that you are unconsciously or consciously overlooking because you don't want to be like, well, if I look at these things and I know that he's not my true partner. If I, you know, really focus on these things and I know that she's not the one, but I already knew that. If I look at these things and I know that this person, this friend, this family member is totally disrespecting me, or my boss is totally disrespecting me, and if I look at it and I would have to leave, then I wouldn't know what to do. Then I would be unemployed or forever alone or starting from zero, or I wouldn't have an income. So that's why the ego thinks that it's protecting you from living this complacent life, and it keeps you in this confused loop. But when you're manifesting this message, and by the way, we're always co-creating our experiences here. This message is manifested. I'm channeling through your higher self, your God consciousness, what you know deeply to be true within you. That it's time. It's time for you to take a look, even though you know it's going to be, you know, confronting, challenging, difficult, but what do you expect, right? The message, the signs, the synchronicities has led you to this point where your soul can no longer play deaf. That you know you're destined for more, and that's the truth. You're destined for more, and you know it. You know that you're... I thought I was seeing like a snake skin. I was like, okay, snakes, please. Okay, it's not good. So you know that deep in you lies that infinite potentiality, and you cannot run away from it anymore. You know that the job that you're in is not even like 50% of your true potential. And that's scary because you thought that's what you wanted, you know, before your spiritual awakening or whatever, or even after, you know, there's different waves of spiritual awakening. You're at this point where you're like, I can no longer pretend that I'm okay with this. I can no longer pretend that I only want some kind of 3D connection, relationship, friendship, income, way of living. What I really want is soul alignment. You know, what I really want is depth and truth and being seen for all of me. Not being seen for my race, my appearance, for my age, for my, you know, curated image that I put out to the world, because we all do that, right? We all know how to act in a certain way, like a lady, like a spiritual love and light, you know, whatever person. We know how to namaste. We know how to smile at the perfect moment. We know how to do all of that. But I feel like there's something deep in you that wants to be seen for your divinity, for your wholeness, for your radiance, for your potentiality. And there's something in your soul that just can't do it anymore, you know, cannot deal with the partner, the friend, the environment where they only see what they've known of you. Like maybe you're working, you know, in the aesthetic, you know, salon world for the longest time, and they only know that of you. You're like the beauty girl, you know, you're the fitness chick, you're the accountant, you know, man or whatever, right? Like they only know you as these things, but you know that there's something deeper, something grander, and it's time for you to admit it. And that's why the ego is now putting all these confusion, because the tuck and pull is like the comfort life and the true life, and the true life will requires you to relinquish anything and everything that is false. So that's why it feels scary. That's why it feels confusing. I just saw a centipede and then it like disappeared. Okay. Sometimes we encounter all sorts of things here, but this could also be a sign for you, you know? When you see something scary and you can think like, oh my God, it's like, it's gonna ruin me, but then it's gonna disappear because you looked at it and you acknowledge it. And that's how fear works. I've led so many people through their true transformation journey, and what I found is that it's the reluctance to look at the darkness is what creates these big boogeymen. But actually, when you just open the book and be like, I want to sit here with my darkness. I'm going to sit here and face what I need to face. I'm going to sit here and be honest with myself. And it's going to feel scary. These 3 seconds of looking at that thing is going to feel like 30 minutes, 3 days. It's going to feel really scary. But that's how the soul expands. That's how life works, and life in its truest way. That if you want to attend inner union, wholeness, harmony within, you can't be lying to yourself and thinking that you are all that you've done. You cannot think of yourself as you are just the victim or the result and the outcome of whatever happened to you. You know, you just literally left out the biggest part of you are the creator of your life, and you are responsible and you are capable of creating your true reality. And your reality is created when you're able to look and assess all the things that roams within you, all the unconscious thoughts, behaviors, patterns, feelings, emotions, and you make space for it. You don't hide it. You don't call it bad. You don't call it the devil. You don't call it evil. Because when you don't address that, you're going to project it out. You're going to call people bad. You're going to call them evil. You're going to call them this and that. So remember, only the ego has judgments. God doesn't. God doesn't judge you. You know, and God is not a white-bearded man sitting on some golden throne. Okay, it's not like that. God is within you. And until you understand this and understand this and know this, it wouldn't open up your consciousness to its true potential. It wouldn't. Then you still think of manifestation as a way of getting something. You don't get anything. Nothing is real in this world. Nothing is real. Nothing means anything. You already have everything within you. You are all that is. You are God essence itself. Everything in this outer world is just a reflection of you. That's why you can put 2 people in the same city, in the same circumstance, and they'll have 2 different realities. It's because it's how you look at something. It's the eye. You know, when you say eye, it's the eye. Okay, it's a perspective you see through. That's what the ego is, right? We're different portion of the one consciousness, and depends on how we define ourselves and see ourselves. Is how we use that same lens to see the world. If you don't see yourself as a whole, complete, perfect, harmonious, peaceful, loving, kind person, then you're gonna see the world as like, you know, effed up, messed up, you know, chaotic, evil. Okay, for sure. Because, you know, this is what I realized when I gone through my spiritual awakening. Like, who I was before my spiritual awakening was a different species. You know, super ungrateful, didn't care about people, didn't care about anything. It's because I was living in survival mode. I don't have the capacity to care about people and, you know, help the world and be a light worker or whatever the F, right? I don't have time for that, you know? Because I was living and reliving trauma again and again in my head. I bring it up again and again every time I go to bed. I cry myself to sleep off of an event that happened freaking years ago. And you'll be surprised how many people still do that, you know, in their 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever. There's like, they still hold on to the resentment that happened in their teens, in their 20s. They still can't let it go. And that's the grip, because the event itself happened. The only perpetuator, if that's even a word, okay, the only perpetual mechanism that is running is you and your unconscious thought, and you're not using your mind in the way that it's meant to, which is, you know, creative. creative in a beautiful way, in an expansive way. You're using it to create scenarios of hurt, of sad, of suffering. And you're like, well, I can't help it. I think about it and it just comes. Well, it's just like an untrained dog. Okay, sorry to put it bluntly, but it's like your brain, it's like you can look at it as like a computer, okay, a program or whatever. Like you have to consciously program it, right? When you have to tell it what to do. Because if you don't if you don't actually train a dog, if you've ever trained a dog before, you don't train it what to do. It's gonna pee wherever it wants to. And then you're like, well, that's just how dogs are. Yeah, sure, in a way, but if you want the dog to pee in this area or poop in this area and does this when it wants a treat or whatever, right? There has to be training. So I believe there's a saying that says the mind is a terrible master, but a great servant or something like that, right? So you have to allow yourself to be the master of your mind. And then you will realize that you're not confused anymore because there's nothing to be confused about. You're either operating and living in your God consciousness, your true self, your true authentic self, or you're freaking not. And who are you when you're not? You're confused yourself to be the ego. It's different, Your definition of you needs to be checked. Who are you? When you say, this is me, how do you define yourself? Do you define yourself as this is me, how old I am, this is how I look, this is what my experiences are? Like if you keep on thinking that's you, then you're going to be living in this 3D world and you will never experience and know the real world. The real world requires you to connect and reconnect to the one. Ever since the separation, okay, or the perceived separation from consciousness, the split, okay, we always want to go back to the oneness. That's why death is not death. Death is actually just union to all that is. You come home. That's why they say rest in peace. What's the peace? The peace of God that you are. And most people will have to finish this life living unconsciously so that they can rest in peace. And that's the trap. That's the paradox. That's the joke. That's the cosmic joke, that you don't rest in peace until you reach the end of your life or whatever. You're a piece of God. You're always connected. And when you reawaken to this truth, life begins to make a lot of sense, and at the same time, not a lot of sense. Because you realize you've been living a lie. And that's scary to the ego, because the ego's purpose is to maintain itself, is to prove and validate that it exists. So it'll do whatever, And for you, your job, your role in all of this is to begin realizing, who am I at my truest sense? That's what I say, who am I and where I'm from? Biggest questions. And I find it hilarious every time, because I travel full time. And I've been doing this for the past 9 years since I quit my job, working at a 9-to-5 cubicle corporate in Toronto, Canada. And I went on this, beautiful journey. And the question that I often get asked, like all the time, is, where you're from. It's a hard question. Like for me, it's a hard question to answer. What do you mean where I'm from? That's the question that we're all trying to figure out. Who am I? Where I'm from? I always think that question is so silly. Anyway, when you connecting with this message, what's meant to really awaken in your heart is your truth, Your power and your only true power can only come from your God essence. And that essence is present, it's omnipresent. It's all that is. It's always here. It's always there. It's everywhere. You can't let go of God. You can't get rid of God. There's no opposition to God. And once you awaken to that light, once you awaken to that consciousness of all that is, you know that you're never being left out in the cold. You were never alone, and even there's the meaning, everything's a symbol in the words alone, all one, all one. We have this interconnected mind that works like a mycelium network. And that's why we're able to send telepathic messages to each other, and we're able to tap into the consciousness. And that's why I'm able to create these videos and you're able to tap in. And that's why it feels like we're on the same frequency, on the same field, because we are. It's through that alignment. That's when the networks gets to connect itself and finds its member. And as we become aware, awaken, and moving into the new earth consciousness, we're going to realize that there's a whole way of operating and they're always not cutting it anymore. So we're either replaying the karmic loops from our past generations, our ancestors, and saying that, well, that's what happened to them, so that's going to be happening to me. They had terrible experiences with these things, and the men in their family and the women in their family and the poverty mindset and this and that and traumas, so I must continue that. So you're either continuing that, or you're the one who ends it. You're the one that creates literally a new earth, a new way of living, a new paradigm. For your lineage, you become the ancestor. Ooh, goosebumps, how about that? You become the ancestor of tomorrow. So do you want the next generation to look back and tell you, tell themselves or whoever, like, oh yeah, my ancestor was this, they lived in deep trauma and they keep on perpetuating themselves, and they said they want to do something, they don't want to, and they don't do it because they didn't believe in themselves? Or do you want them to look at you as the ancestor that changed the game, that inspired new horizons and stepped into infinite potentiality? So these are the things that you have to inquire deep within yourself and come home to the truth that you're not just some random person who's here to grind and suffer and die. You don't die, first of all. And that's another joke, that once you allow yourself to see the infinite and eternal nature of this world, you will realize what a freaking gift to be alive, to have this human experience right now as the being that you are through this perspective. Is a gift. So how can you give this and share this truth and wisdom to people? That's when you step into your life work, your soul purpose work. That's when you begin to be the light and not be the freaking darkness and energy vampire, roaming around, projecting, your traumas and your shadows onto other people. You begin to be the illuminator. You begin to be the healer. Not because, oh, look at me, I'm going to heal you with my special gift. Is you begin to be the God consciousness and radiate the light of all that is. And that makes you a natural healer. True healers, like I always say, as I train many, many healers into stepping to the true role, is healers are not like, look at my cool special gifts. Sure, all of these can be cool. But true healers are the ones that heal themselves, and they emit a natural healing frequency that is healing, that is inspiring, that is awakening. And people can't help it but to be healed, to be awakened, to question their reality in their presence. That's true healers. If this is someone that you think that you are, this is the path that you wanted to explore, I love to work with you one-on-one inside my Divine Template Energy Activation. If that calls to you, it's a beautiful session. It's a beautiful quantum time. And, the people I meet in there are really incredible, amazing, rare souls. So if this calls to you, click the first link down below, and I'd love to meet with you. I also have a bunch of activations to get you to awaken in your subconscious who and what you are, because consciously we only work at the 5 to 10%, and in our subconscious mind is the 90 to 95% of all manifestations. So once we really let go of who we think we are, we tap into all that we are, we begin to see life and experience life on a whole new level, because we have stepped into a whole new soul blueprint. So that's my higher heart awakening. That's my starseed light worker power up awakening activation, and also my Trinity activation on the Holy Union. If the path of inner union, inner wholeness, fusing your divine feminine and divine masculine within you, if that's something that speaks to you, all of those things are down below. Let me know what comes up for you, what comes through for you. I always love to hear in the comments. Like this video if you appreciate our energy, and subscribe to the channel, because more videos are coming. I'll be posting more often on here, so I love to have you a part of the fam.